Hello again. So yeah, we're back for I think the fourth installment. Last one was really quick. This one's going to be pretty quick as well. There's loads and loads of videos out there on how to do this, but we're going to be looking at how to sidechain your drums. So essentially, adding distortion and blending that distortion in onto your mix bus drums. So far we have we've set up our drums, then we've sent that to a bus, and then we're sending that drum bus, as you can see right by here, this one, we're sending that to another drum bus. Okay, so that drum bus is over there. It's right at the end, and you can see I've got a lot of plugins open. They're all disabled at the moment, but essentially we're just going to be looking at different ways that we can add clipping distortion to our signal, so then we can blend it in. That's the fundamental thing that you need to remember about approaching sidechain compression. That's essentially what it is. And whether you're adding, essentially it's whether you're adding distortion to it or compression. But either way, you're going to be adding some kind of distortion to your signal, and that's what's going to be blended in. So I've done all the hard work here, and essentially it's your ears. The reason I'm not going to show you what I would do trying to find this sound is, one, is it's on the screen anyway, but secondly, it's your ears. Your ears are the things that are going to be determining it, and as you play about and find out what works and what doesn't work, you're going to then come up with your sound. And through many tracks, this isn't something that's going to happen overnight, but many tracks, then you will use maybe this reference of what you're about to hear, along with your own thoughts about how things should sound, which will be based off your own references. Yeah, so the tracks that you like, that you're pulling into your DAW and using as a reference to mix your own tracks, to then come to your own conclusions. Okay, yeah, it's about you and your music and you bridging the gap, yeah, using the tools that you have. So I've got a distortion up, I've got a simple compressor, I've got a free compressor, and I've also got it's called fatter, but essentially it's just a mid boost, and that fatter is just because as I'm adding distortion and compression and whatnot, I'm losing a bit of mid-range there, because I'm not losing mid-range, but higher frequencies are going to be accentuated because I'm adding distortion, and when you add distortion, you also add harmonics to the signal. Okay, so those are upper harmonics, upper mids, and upper treble harmonics. That we won't have to tame, because I'm not being too aggressive here, not as aggressive as I could be anyway, but yeah, you get the gist. So we're gonna press play. You'll hear the track without anything on first, then we'll listen to the MDMX overdrive first. I'll say what's going on with that, but essentially what it's doing is it's adding compression as it's adding distortion. Yeah, when you add distortion, it automatically compresses the highs and the lows of that signal. Yeah, so that's a good thing to remember when you're doing anything, because as you overcompress, you add distortion. Yeah, that's why we've got a distortion, and then we've got a compressor as well. They're two different flavors. You'll find with the distortion that you don't necessarily have to have low mids, and on this distortion as well, you can see there's a low mid boost that I could put on if I wanted to, but I didn't feel I needed that. In fact, I took that down with the temperature knob down here. This that adds mids or it takes away. Yeah, so that's like warmth or lack of warmth. So yeah, and I've just put the mix on full pretty much for everything except for that free one. And that's essentially because it was going a bit thin and fizzy. Okay, right, so I'm going to play it now, and then we'll start adding it in. So this is it without. So you can hear there it's well balanced, and you know, nothing's too loud. You know, everything's just sitting nicely. There's nothing there that I would say is being hidden. There are maybe some things that I want accented, just like the drums. But overall, it's a nice, even mix. And that's what we want to start off with. Okay, so now I'm going to turn on this, this distortion, the overdrive, so you can hear what this is doing. Yeah, now I'm going to mute it. Okay, with back on. Again, off. Back on. Alright, so there, you know, what is actually happening is the track isn't getting any louder. I don't want that. That's one thing that I really do not want. But what I do want is for the drums to sound a little bit more consistent and a little bit more up front. Yeah, so it should be, you know, vocals at the front, which we haven't got yet. Then the drums should sit pretty far forward, followed by the bass. Sorry, I'm turning to Sean Connery for a second there. The bass. And then everything else is kind of going to sit as a bed on top of that in varying degrees, you know, further back. They should feel. At the moment, you know, the piano's quite forward, which we'll fix again in a little bit of with a little bit more EQ later on. But that sounds quite nice. So what's going on here? I've got a little bit of gain that I'm adding. So if we just we solo this. Yeah. Okay, I'll just take that off. It's very much those upper mids. They're the ones that are being focused on for the distortion. Now, if I turn this temperature up a little bit. There's a lot of emphasis there that goes onto the bass and the toms. So that's why I've got the temperature down here, because there's already a lot of mids that this is actually adding to the signal. Okay, so I'm just going to turn that off now, and we're going to turn the RVox on. Now let's see what this is doing. Yeah, the emphasis is a little bit lower, but there's not as much. So let's see that in the mix. What does that sound like? Sounds good. Okay, let's flip between the first 1 and 2. I'm back. Okay, now let's solo it. That's what that one sounds like. Okay, now this one. There's just a subtle shift, isn't there? You know, and I'm being quite aggressive with that. I've pulled the gate on the RVox down because I don't really want that to pull anything out. Only, you know, if it's a long phrase. So that's at about -34, I think it is. Whereas actually the gate is stopping at about 32. So it's not really, you know, there's maybe once or twice it's coming down. I found actually adding the fatter knob to this actually helped a little bit more, even though I didn't want a lot of that. It just brings up the presence a little bit. In a different way than the MDMX. So where the MDMX is using the top range to sit forward a little bit, what the RVox with this one knob that I'll turn on now, you'll hear that it just becomes a little bit more forward in the mid range, which I might not want later on. So I've got options here. I can flip between them as I go. So let's turn that on and let's take a listen. Hear that bass drum is not what I want to come forward, but in the mix. Take it out. That bass drum pops out a little bit, and I might want that later on. I'm not sure that's there. I'll turn the RVox off now. Put it on with this MDMX one. Yeah, interesting, isn't it? That the bass doesn't come out as much. The kick doesn't come out as much. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the this Klang Elm on, which is a free plugin with the one knob, which I actually got for free as well. Oof, that's loud, isn't it? And that's why I've got the this gain knob, because it's free. I'm just going to bring the gain down by about 7 degrees, and that 7 degrees decibels. So because this has a VU meter on it, I'm trying to get it to go between -3 and +1 on the VU meter, so I can add that compression, that natural compression, and the and that saturation. Okay, so I'll bring that in. I'll turn all of them off. Back on. Okay, now the RVox. Okay, MDMX. Okay, the RVox. Maybe add the RVox with the IDG2 might sound nice. No, it's a bit much. Maybe the MDMX, let's try that. What does that sound like? A bit much. Maybe if I turn this down. Works quite nicely. A little bit crunchy. Cool. So at the moment, what I'm finding actually is I'm really liking the MDMX's top end, but I'm really liking the RVox's mid-range with this one knob. So what I could actually do is I could add another drum bus if I wanted to, and put a high shelf on one and a low shelf on the other, and mix them together. Okay, so let's see what that sounds like. So if I put this on a new bus, it'll have to be bus 13. Okay. Where is the color? Gotta make it red. Cool. And what we'll do is we'll put the MDMX on one, we're going to put the RVox on the other. Take them off. Put the one knob here. Okay, and we will now add an EQ to the thing. I said I like the top end. Let's just say around about 1,000. And we're going to go an 18 decibel slope, so it's a little bit steeper. And on this one, we'll put the same around this way. Around about 1 there, that's a 24 dB, but we're going to go down to an 18 dB there. So we'll try and just slope it off. So they're actually, you know, they're crossing over around about 1. Okay, I might need to go a little bit lower with that one. Okay. And we'll blend these in together. I'll need to turn it up as well on for the second one. So let's just get rid of all these. It's 0 dB. So you can hear, if I keep that RVox in with the high shelf in, then the highs just go out of control, because we're doubling up on it. So it's good to take that out a little bit there and add it here. So yeah, let's just see what we prefer. Yeah, I really like that. I think that works really, really well. So let's go SC2. Okay, so that's something that you can do as well. Just because you've got, you know, you like one aspect of one and one aspect of the other, add another drum bus if you want, and then just use the EQ to pick which parts you want. You know, if you want it could be a bell curve where you just like the mids. Do it, you know, it'll sound fantastic when you're finished with it. So yeah, I hope that really helps you. I'm probably going to keep those settings now. The IVG2 is great if you want a free option. So if I just take that off, I'll just stick this to the end. It was doing very similar stuff to the MDMX. So if you take a listen to this now. Down a bit. Yeah, so it's because it's doing a lot more, I think, in the highs. So if I was to really go into this, I would probably take it around 4 to 5K like that. I'd just bring this down a little bit, and that would help. Yeah, perfect. Whereas if I was to turn this off, yeah, you hear the crack at the top of the kick is being accentuated, and the snare is, so it's a little bit much there. So, you know, listening to those things, if you want to use the free one, is great. I'm probably going to stick with this IMDMX, but then I'm pretty much getting the same thing with these two free plugins. Yeah, so I hope that was useful for you, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace out, guys.